Okay, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Fabien Porcher, if that works. Yeah. So I'm going to complement a little bit what Ocean just told you about SME support and business support, focusing a little more on circular economy activities and industrial symbiosis, of course, because this is what you're interested in. And by the way, it's great to see that there are so many people still at the end of this circular economy marathon here in Helsinki, still attending such an event. So thanks for being here and thanks for the invitation. So the landmark program that we have in terms of circular economy at the EU level is, of course, our circular economy action plan. So I'm just taking for granted, maybe wrongly, that most of you are familiar with it, but I'm still going to dwell a little bit into it, focusing on aspects that are relevant for industrial symbiosis. So the Circular Economy Action Plan is divided into five main, let's say, areas. One of them is production, the other one is consumption, waste management, secondary raw materials, and of course this is what you are mostly interested in, and the cross-cutting horizontal one, which is innovation and investment. On top of that, there are five focus areas, let's call them focus areas. The most, let's say, famous one, and the one that you can read about in the press, is plastics, with the plastic strategy. I'm not going to present that, but you might also be interested in knowing, in particular for the Finnish audience, that there is one focus area also on biomass and bio-based products. So this is basically the calendar. The Circular Economy Action Plan was launched in 2015. It is a set of 54 initiatives. Some of them are legislative, some of them are not. And obviously I'm not going to present all of 54, but this is basically the timeline from December 2015, when the action plan was presented, including the waste management legislative proposals that we put forward and that were eventually adopted last year in the spring of 2018. And you can see here that there were three main, basically, delivery moments, so-called circular economy packages, with another one which might be interesting for you, which is the second one, where we presented a legislative proposal on organic and waste-based fertilizers, which was adopted very recently by the European co-legislators just before the European Parliament broke for the European elections. The last package, the fourth one, was published in March this year. And I'm not going to present it all, but I just want to raise your attention on the implementation report that we published on the 4th of March, presenting the state of play on all 54 actions, and presenting also some key recent data from the monitoring framework on the circular economy that we have at EU level, and some, let's say, open challenges that I'm going to present very, very lightly at the end. In terms of production, well, one interesting element for you to be aware of is the eco-design and energy labeling requirements that are now being implemented. So I'm not aware whether all of you are familiar with the eco-design and the eco-design directive and the energy labeling regulation, but basically these are two 10-year-old instruments that we're using to include circular economy requirements into product measures that apply to energy-related products. So this is an ongoing work. Another measure you can be interested in is the best available technique reference documents under the industrial emission directives, which basically sets requirements and standards for member states to allow industrial plants to be built. and many of them now are include circular economy aspects. On consumption, one element you can be interested in is the product environmental footprint exercise, the so-called BEF, the first one you can see here, which is an LCA based methodology, which we've had a pilot on that. It was a hell of a lot of work from 2013 to 2018. So this is basically the most, to my knowledge, the most advanced LCA-based exercise that was carried out to assess the environmental footprint of products in partnership with the industry.
Sorry, 1 minute?
1 minute. Oh my God! So
you can take 2 of mine.
Okay. Another element, of course, is the legislative proposals on waste management that we adopted last year. So, if I have only 1 minute, I'm not going to dwell on that. But maybe from an industrial symbiosis perspective, the most interesting aspect is that criteria for byproducts and end of waste status are now clarified. So, compared to the previous situation. So basically, the responsibility for establishing criteria for byproducts and end of waste is mainly with national member states now, with some exceptions and with the possibility, of course, for the EU to always step in and set European-wide criteria in case it's relevant. On secondary raw materials, one exercise that is certainly very relevant from an industrial symbiosis perspective is the interface, the analysis of the interface between the product, chemicals and waste legislation, here the second one, whereby we identify 4 key challenges, but I'm aware I don't have time to present them.
Please say, I'm the next presenter. You
okay.
can have my 2-3 minutes.
Okay, so this is basically an ongoing, this is one of the, we're here in the heart of what the circular economy means, because basically it's addressing the inconsistencies, possible inconsistencies between these 3 areas of legislation. One of them being, of course, the end of waste problem, basically. Which is partially resolved with the new rules on waste management. Another one is on substances of concern, legacy substances, in particular their presence and their traceability in materials. So this is basically an open-ended exercise that will go way beyond the Circular Economy Action Plan and way beyond 2020. So stay tuned. Still from an industrial symbiosis perspective, one element that you must be aware of is the so-called CirClean project that our department, DG GROW in the European Commission, is launching. So this is a big project specifically dedicated to reporting on industrial symbiosis and to eventually, hopefully, setting up an industrial symbiosis European network. That's the idea. So this project was just launched. The evaluation is at its final stage. But in case there are questions, of course, I can try to address them and to answer. But basically the idea is really to come up with a uniform, uncontroversial way of reporting on industrial symbiosis and getting a better idea of what is happening. This is an industry-led initiative, so this is not something where the European Commission is pushing in one way or another. One final word on the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, which is the central crossroads for circular economy stakeholders to share good practices, knowledge, reports, voluntary commitments as well, This is an initiative that we're sharing with the European Economic and Social Committee, and which in particular has a website where you can contribute. So this is the URL. I'm seeing Per here from Kalundborg, and Kalundborg Symbiosis is one of the good practices, 200 plus, that are now on this website. So you can contribute, you can submit your own content there. Open challenges, really very, very quickly. I'm just going to, this is basically a glimpse into the questions and issues that need to be addressed in the coming years from a circular economy perspective. I'm just going to raise your attention on the first three here. The potential of the single market. This is, by the way, complementing what Oceane was saying. The single market is a key tool and a key weapon for us to enforce circularity in the European Union, in particular when it comes to secondary raw materials, where we need robust markets. Exploiting the synergies with climate and with the goal of reaching a climate neutral economy by 2050, and we know that the circular economy is one key avenue to achieving that. And integrated digital transformations. And here again, digital tools are one very powerful means of basically doing industrial symbiosis and exchanging materials, byproducts or waste, in a more efficient way, and finding partners. Oceane. Oh.
So just a few minutes.
Yeah, just a few words, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I can speak.
Just a few words on the EREK project. I mean, I'm not going to deep into details. I think you have a presentation later by Anveros on EREK project. Just to say that, I mean, the real objective, it's really a project that helps to to achieve two of our goals, is to support the SMEs and to support the circular economy, and through a concrete project that aims at having SMEs implementing circular economy and resource efficiency, save and help them to save resources. We are really proud of the network of more than 60 members across Europe that work on the project. So you can see on the website of the project all the database and the catalog, the support programs, the workshop that we do. And just a final word to say that we are now approaching the last steps of the first phase of the project. We have this final conference in September 25th and 26th in Brussels, a high-level conference, plenty of opportunities to speak with EREK members, SMEs as well, on resource efficiency. And I want to add that we are now, in my unit, shaping the second phase of EREK project. I'm going to be here all day, and I really want to hear about your ideas, your feedback on the project if you're members, and I will be very glad to hear any of the challenges you're facing daily and how to better implement this project. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for Fabien and Oceane.